Hi, welcome to the Masters of Product Marketing series. My name is Karen DeYoung, a Director of Product Marketing at Morningstar, and I want to thank you for joining me to talk about how you and your teams can map your message for greater impact. We're all looking for the best ways to tell our stories in ways our customers and potential customers can relate. We want them to understand why we do what we do and to fully understand our value proposition and how we can help them improve their lives. We want everyone in our company to tell the same story and consistently communicate the value proposition and the benefits our offerings can provide. Today I have 3 tips and a challenge for you regarding message maps, and I hope it inspires you to map your messages for greater impact. If you've already done this hard but rewarding work, the challenge is going to be to double down and share with your peers to inspire them. We'll come back to that challenge later. Here you see a variety of styles and formats for message maps. There's no right or wrong format. The value of a message map comes through in its use. It simply needs to get the job done. Message maps can be poetic or technical, plain or fancy, simple or complex. It all depends on your intended audience. What makes a great message map? It tells your story in the right way for the right audiences at the right time. It showcases your value prop and brings it to life in language that resonates with your audiences. Well, that sounds easy, right? Well, at Morningstar, we launch a lot of products and services. We put a lot of time and effort into our message maps, and we know we won't always get it right the first time, but over the years, I've seen a few tips work really well. So I'm happy to share them with you. Tip 1, words matter. All right, this one seems obvious, but I can't tell you how many times I've seen great words used in not so great ways. The words you use to craft your message map will become the foundation for everything you communicate and influences how your customers and potential new customers will feel about your products and services. It's important to test your messages, iterate, and then test some more. Pay attention to each word. Test alternatives with your target clients and be creative and have some fun. Make sure you can easily read the words out loud and say them without stumbling. The words you choose need to complement each other and not sound overly repetitive. There are many inexpensive and creative ways to do this. It can be as simple as conducting a one-question man-on-the-street interview, a simple A/B test on a website, or doing an in-person highlighter test. The goal here is to see what words have the greatest impact and clearly communicate your message. There's no prize for delivering the longest messages. The key here is to understand from the customer's perspective what matters and resonates most for them. Often, the words used by our product partners and sales partners can be off base or can be internal jargon or worse, feel insensitive. This will become clear within 12 to 15 responses from interviews with your target personas. It's important to interview target buyers as well as target users, as they may have a different perspective of the value you bring and the benefits it can deliver for each of them. And of course, when you're choosing your words, work with your SEO specialist or dive into Moz yourself to optimize your word choices for SEO. Just don't go overboard. Stuffing is great for Thanksgiving, but not great on your web pages. Tip 2, get real. Don't let your messaging create unrealistic expectations. Be truthful, clear, and concise. On the spectrum between what your product owners believe and intend for the product to do and the actual experience the customer will have is reality. And it is our responsibility as product marketers to tell the truth and create realistic expectations that inspire confidence. You can make sure your messages are right on target and setting the right expectations by listening to your customers and those who choose to go another direction. Win-loss interviews and client experience surveys provide great insight and details that you can use to make sure your messages are authentic, understandable, and managing expectations. If you hone your message to accurately set expectations, you can deliver on your valued promise and delight your customers. Too often, firms are a bit too aspirational in their messaging, and the customer is left disappointed. Make sure your messages are authentic, crisp, and consistent across the entire customer journey. Tip 3, secure buy-in. Well, the best message maps are useless if they aren't used. They need to be shared broadly, updated frequently, and easily accessible. And most importantly, you need buy-in from all stakeholders. This can be time-consuming, especially in organizations with large cross-functional project teams, but it's of utmost importance. I'm not talking about a quick sign-off or a, yeah, that sounds great. What I'm referring to here is a thoughtful review for accuracy and a deep understanding of the work required to develop relevant messages that are audience-specific and well-tested. Your stakeholders can provide some of the most valuable insight. And stakeholders hold the keys to successful implementation of message maps. Sometimes your message maps will challenge the status quo and change the dialogue on a product or service that has been long-standing. Sellers may not want to change their pitches. Marketing collateral is expensive, but it may need to be updated, and a host of other changes might be necessary. We all say change is good, but we all also know change is difficult. Buy-in is important when the messages are communicated throughout the organization, and you need the trust factor that comes with it to get everyone to consistently share your messages in the way they are intended. You also need buy-in to the mapping process so that when trends shift, markets change, and your messaging needs to be refreshed, your stakeholders will provide the insights you need and help spread the word when you have a new story to tell. Your stakeholders are invested advocates who understand the value of your message map and can help drive consistency and impact. It's a beautiful sound when everyone is singing from the same song sheet. Now, to quickly demonstrate the power of a message map, I want to share a recent example from our team at Morningstar. We're an international company with over 5,000 employees in 27 countries with more than 25 primary product lines. And it's really important that we're all aligned to a central mission. We align everyone and rally around this single mission. From the CEO to the newest intern, empowering investor success drives everything we do. Everyone understands how their daily work aligns to this mission. Our message maps are critical to connect our product and service stories to the overall mission. One way we accomplish our mission is by creating professional software for financial advisors to help them advise individuals and get them on track to accomplish their financial goals. Late last year, we launched a new product called Morningstar GoalBridge, and I want to share a little bit about how message maps helped us up our game. Early in the development process, our positioning and personas were set, and the messaging was drafted and reviewed with all stakeholders for accuracy. Then we took to the street to understand what goal planning means to investors and what tools they need to be successful. We interviewed financial advisors to suss out our value proposition and did highlighter testing to hone our content. We encountered a few surprises. Terms that we were confident and thought would resonate didn't. And the industry-specific language we embedded to connect with our target audience felt forced and jargony. And they were very straightforward in their feedback. Based on their input from our interviews, we iterated and tested again. 3 versions later, we were ready to create a website, marketing collateral, press announcements, pitch decks, social cards, the full go-to-market package. We shared the message map broadly, and when third-party interviews and requests for proposals started rolling in, we were all set. I might be bold here and say, responding to all those requests was almost a cut and paste exercise because of our message maps. Once the message map was shared out to the company, the story of Goalbridge and how it supports the mission to empower investor success came alive. Internally and externally, the story of goal planning and how easy it is for individuals to identify, prioritize, and make a plan to accomplish their financial goals was crisp, clear, and easy to understand. It resonated with advisors, and they quickly understood how this tool could help their clients achieve their goals. Early this year, we updated our message map to address market volatility related to COVID, as well as helping advisors up their client engagement game from a distance. Last month, we updated the message map again to reflect an increased focus on ESG investments. I mention this as a reminder that even a perfect message map is only perfect for a moment in time. It needs to be constantly refreshed in order to have the greatest impact. While much of your message will be timeless, it also needs to be timely and relevant to really gain traction. We recently held our annual investment conference. The CEO, Kunal Kapoor, included mentions of several key products and services that Morningstar offers in his opening remarks, including Goalbridge. It was music to my ears to hear him quote straight from our message map: clear, concise, up-to-date, and consistent. Now, I'd like to close with a challenge. We've all heard it said hundreds of times in the past several months. We are living in unprecedented times. Our expectation is that everything is different than it was pre-pandemic, with work from home, distance learning, market volatility, civil unrest, political and employment uncertainties. You name it, things are different. Many of us had to change our business models and client engagement models overnight. Have you revisited your core messaging in the past 30 days? The speed of change has accelerated. After this session, please take a few minutes to review your most recent message map or pick one for a flagship product. How does it stand up today, given the new environment we're all experiencing? If you'd like to use a template to take a fresh look at your message map, the Product Marketing Alliance has provided great messaging templates on their website. There are a variety of resources for you to use. My challenge to you is to take a fresh look. Tell a fresh story and then share it. Use the Slack channel or one of the many ways that we can all communicate with each other. Let us learn from you. Share your tips and tricks of how you map your message for impact. I'd love to hear your messages and share my messages with you. Let's continue the conversation. I can be reached a number of different ways, and I look forward to continuing this conversation. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Karen, for such a helpful and thought-provoking presentation on message maps.
Great. It's fun to be here. I see all the questions coming in. I love it. This is great.
Excellent, excellent. Yeah, so we're now going to hold just a short Q&A session just to shed a little bit more light on this key area. So I'll pass it over to you now to answer any questions we've got from our attendees.
Great, thank you. And I see attendees from all over the world, which is really exciting. There's Manchester, London, Denver, Boston. I'm personally dialing in from San Diego, so it's great to see everyone. We've had a few questions come in, and first one I'm going to grab here is from Stuart. And he was asking if we're finding that customers are more or less likely to take part in win-loss interviews since everyone's now working from home. And we've done win-loss interviews a number of different ways. We've done it ourselves. We've had sales reach out, which was not very productive when they're collecting information on their own conversations. It doesn't work very well. People are usually willing to talk, but the feedback's not always authentic. They don't want to hurt the salesperson's feelings if for budget reasons or some other reason they went another direction. So they generally say, it's not you, it's me, which isn't helpful. So we found that using a third party is really the best way to go. We've looked at a number of different companies. Closed is one that does a really fantastic job. I know they're part of the Product Marketing Alliance as well, so you can find them there. They do third-party win-loss interviews, and they work really great. They also can provide incentives and small gifts or large gifts depending on how lengthy your interviews are. I think people really welcome the opportunity to talk about their experiences with your brand and with your products and services. I haven't noticed a difference in response rates due to everyone working from home. Okay, let's see what's next. How often should a product marketer review a message map? Wow, that's a tough one. Anytime there is a shift in your audience, if there's a new prospective audience that you'd like to go after, if there are new features, functions, benefits, we review them constantly. Our product owners are very invested in the process, as are sales. So when we start to see engagement drop off, we know that there's probably something that's not resonating. So we need to revisit our message maps. I'd say it's worth looking, if I had to just throw a time frame out there, at least monthly, but on whatever cycle or frequency you're getting metrics and feedback and can see the engagement. If something is live and real time, you're doing A/B testing, and you can revisit on a continual basis, monitor, test, learn, iterate, I'd say just keep them dynamic and fresh. So the best process for reviewing is really dependent on your product or service, Sebastian, and we could take that offline. I'd love to chat with you more about that. We look at message maps based on corporate themes. We just did a whole refresh on all of our message maps based on some corporate themes that we're really leaning in on. And also a process for reviewing could be something as simple as taking a key section or a key benefit statement, perhaps even your value proposition, and doing a quick test with a group of users, a user research group, or just taking it to your sales team and having them review and say, what feedback are you getting for this particular area of your conversations? A lot of the message map ends up in pitch decks, and you can tell right away when you ask a seller, are you using this pitch deck? And if so, how's it working? They'll give you really great feedback on what they're hearing from customers. But we can take that one offline. I'd love to talk to you more, Sebastian. Heather, I think I deleted your question. I'm sorry. I tried to push it to Q&A and I don't know where that went. So let's see. How are you testing the impact of language currently, given the confines of the pandemic and remote working? So the impact of language, we can tell right away. We do a lot of A/B testing on websites. as I mentioned earlier with Sebastian's question, our sellers are still doing a lot of Zoom sessions, and they're using our pitch decks and giving presentations. We look at engagement. When we use Eloqua Engage templates, and our message map language ends up in those Engage templates. So we can see how much engagement, click-through rates, open rates, are people clicking through into our videos and our white papers. We really look at engagement to test the impact of the language. What are the results? Are we getting the intended result? And then we'll test, learn, iterate, always looking for improvement. So let me know in the chat if that didn't address your question. We can do highlighter testing even in a virtual environment. We have workshop sessions with our advisory board where we talk about messaging, and positioning is really important. We meet with them to make sure our positioning in the current environment is still appropriate and resonating, and that the language we use is conversational, friendly, but also really resonating with our audiences. I know there's a handout section there. Will anything be added? I did include in the presentation the link to the templates. I'm happy to share any of our actual work and share with you some of our messaging and the process before and after if you like. And the PDF of the presentation should be up there. If not, I'll make sure that gets uploaded. Let's see. When you conduct a refresh of your messaging after reviewing with Sales User Test Group, do you refresh this internally or with an outsourced freelancer? Which is a better process? We do all of our messaging internally. Our message maps, we build, maintain, share those. All of that's done internally. We do share them externally if we're hiring, for example, a freelancer to write a customer success story or a press release. We do have some media, a lot of internal media, but we work with some external partners as well. So we do the refresh of our messaging with our own internal editorial teams, but we do share it with external teams when we're working on special projects. Thanks, Heather. Love the scrunchy face. Okay, let's see. Do we have any other questions? Talked about win-loss. I think that's it, unless you guys want to fire off some more questions to me here in the chat.
Hi, thanks so much for giving such insightful answers to those questions there, Karen.
My pleasure. Happy to address any additional. Oh, let's see. Kat
one
has
more.
one. We got Kat in there right at the end. Getting buy-in from stakeholders is vital for sharing messaging. Yes. What tips do you have for actually getting this buy-in when the product marketing team is relatively new? Wow. That is a great question. And the product marketing discipline at Morningstar, surprisingly, is relatively new. So we're still building all those bridges. But what we've learned is the sooner that you involve your stakeholders, the better. Especially with new products and go-to-market launches, product marketing really needs to have that seat at the table early on. So we're helping to craft the positioning and also the messaging. But the buy-in, I've found that the stakeholders are really invested in it. They want their products to be successful, the products and services to be successful. They want their teams to be informed. And the message map, once they realize the importance and that it's a rally point for all communication, and that consistent communication internally and externally is really the key to that product or service launching properly or being marketed properly. I've seen them really, light up. They are excited to see how we talk about and how we message to their potential audiences. So just involvement, communication, including them and letting them know how important that their insight is and that their buy-in's important. That's what I found. How often do we meet with our customer advisory board? We have 2 formal meetings that last a day and a half each year. And we also have our user research board, we call it our Insight Circle. That's constant. We monitor it constantly, and we are very active with our Insight Circle. So we're constantly getting feedback. We also do customer satisfaction surveys constantly. But as far as our customer advisory board, we do very deep workshop sessions with them at least twice a year. But we've moved now in the virtual environment away from those physical meetings. It was a day and a half where we get in a room and we workshop and we get our, roll up our sleeves. Now we're doing 1.5 to 2.5 hour focus sessions monthly to really engage with that advisory board. So we've had to shift how we engage with our advisory board. They are also constantly monitoring the marketplace and giving us feedback. So I hear from members of our advisory board at least weekly through email, but we are doing monthly workshop sessions. And typically when we're all able to travel, we gather for a day and a half twice a year in our Chicago office. How do you gather customer needs and pain points? Is there a structured best practice process you would advise companies on? We have a number of different ways. I just mentioned a couple. We have our Insight Circle. We have something that we call Morningstar Community, and that's an area where people can connect with their peers, but also connect with everyone at Morningstar. Our partners, we do a lot of integrations with our professional software. So there are a lot of different ways that we gather the feedback on customer needs. We take the silent majority very seriously, and if we're not hearing from customers, we reach out either through a survey or direct one-on-one conversations, because we know that sometimes the silent majority really should be listened to the most. So I hope that addresses some of your question, Michelle. Okay, I think that's it on the questions. Kat's raising her hand. I'm not sure I know how to address that, Kat, but I see your smiley face. So hopefully I answered your question properly.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks so much, Karen. And also a big thank you to everyone who tuned in today and submitted questions. Such a brilliant discussion. Just to let everyone know, the slide deck presentation, including the Q&A as well from this webinar, will be available on replay. So yeah, all that's left to say is thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
Thank you. Thanks for inviting me. I love the conversation and hope that we can all connect offline as well. Thank you.
Absolutely. It's been great to have you. Take care.
Bye.